Most people trying to look successful make the same exact mistake. They buy the newest car they can barely afford. A brand new economy sedan, straight off the dealer lot, with a monthly payment that bleeds them dry. And zero presence on the road. No heads turning, nobody stopping to look. Meanwhile, the people who actually understand the car market do something completely different. They buy cars that used to cost $60,000, $80,000, even $100,000. Cars that still look expensive, cars that still turn heads, but thanks to brutal depreciation, now cost less than $10,000. And that is exactly what we are covering today. 7 cars that make you look like a millionaire, without spending like one. Stay with me, because the last one is the one nobody sees coming. Before we get into the list, you need to understand one fundamental mechanism, because without understanding it, none of this makes sense. Luxury cars do not lose value slowly, they fall off a cliff. Why? Because luxury buyers always want the newest model. Every 2 or 3 years, a new generation drops and the previous one floods the used market. Within a few years, a car that once cost $70,000 ends up in the same price range as a grocery run hatchback. But here's the point almost nobody considers. The design does not suddenly become cheap. The interior does not suddenly feel basic. The badge on the hood still carries prestige, which means smart buyers can exploit one of the biggest inefficiencies in the entire car market, pay the price of a used economy car, and drive something that looks like it just rolled out of a luxury showroom. And this list is the concrete proof that it works. Let's start with number 7. The Chrysler 300C, 2015 to 2017. At first glance, this car still looks like a full-size executive sedan. Long hood, bold grille, road presence that plenty of $40,000 cars simply cannot replicate. From a distance, most people cannot figure out what brand it is. They see a large, elegant sedan with sharp lines, and they automatically assume it is worth far more than it actually costs. When these were new, they could easily climb into the $45,000 to $50,000 range, depending on trim. Today, you can often find them around $8,000 to $10,000 on the used market. The secret is that Chrysler's brand perception dropped over time. But the styling still screams presence, still screams authority. Inside you get leather seats, large infotainment screens, and one of the most comfortable cabins in the segment. It is the perfect example of a car where perception massively outweighs price. People see it and think expensive. The sticker tells a very different story. Number 6 might surprise you because it is one of the most overlooked cars in the entire used market. We are talking about the Acura RLX 2014 to 2016. And the fact that it is overlooked is exactly why it is such an extraordinary bargain. When it was new, this sedan started around $50,000. A full luxury car with the fit, finish, technology, and comfort to challenge German rivals directly. The problem? Acura never pushed the RLX aggressively from a marketing standpoint. It never built the same status recognition as competitors from Munich or Stuttgart, and so while BMW and Mercedes hold a certain residual value purely on brand strength, the RLX dropped hard. Today, many examples sit well under $10,000. What do you get for that price? A car with an incredibly refined ride quality, a smooth and quiet V6 engine, high-end interior materials, and, critically, the legendary long-term reliability of Honda underneath a premium badge. It is a luxury sedan hiding behind a badge people underestimate. And that makes it one of the smartest buys on this entire list. Few sedans age as gracefully as number 5, the Volvo S90, 2017 to 2018. With its minimalist Scandinavian design, this car still looks like something that belongs in a luxury dealership showroom today. The slim LED headlights cutting through the air, the elegant stretched proportions, the clean, almost architectural interior layout. When the S90 debuted, it started around $48,000 to $50,000. This was Volvo openly declaring that it wanted to compete with the Mercedes E-Class and BMW 5 Series, and it absolutely did. But depreciation hit hard. Early models with higher mileage can sometimes be found around the $10,000 range today, and visually it still looks like a modern executive sedan. This is one of those cars where people automatically assume it is much newer and much more expensive than it actually is. If you are someone who appreciates design, who notices proportions, who reads a cabin, the S90 will give you everything you want at a price that does not feel real. Now pause for a second, because there is something worth understanding right at the halfway point of this list. Luxury cars do not follow the same depreciation curve as regular cars. They lose value fast for three very specific reasons. First, maintenance costs scare away second owners. Hearing that a car costs $70,000 new makes people imagine enormous repair bills, even when the reality is far more manageable. Second, luxury buyers always chase the newest technology. They do not want a 4-year-old screen, even if it works perfectly. Third, the luxury market moves fast. Product cycles are short, and that accelerates the perceived obsolescence of cars that are still beautiful and capable. But that rapid depreciation creates incredible opportunities, especially when the design and the presence of the car remain completely timeless. And the next cars on this list prove that in the most definitive way possible. Number 4 might be the most balanced car on this entire list, the Lexus GS 350 2013 to 2015. It has the aggressive styling of a performance sedan combined with the long-term reliability that Lexus is known for worldwide. That is a rare combination. Usually you pick one or the other. With the GS 350, you get both. When these cars were new, they regularly sold for $55,000 to $60,000 or more. Today, older models often sit around the $10,000 mark depending on mileage, and what you get is genuinely impressive. A powerful and responsive V6 engine, a sharp exterior design with styling details that still read as modern, an extraordinarily durable drivetrain, and one of the best reputations for long-term reliability in the entire luxury segment. It is the rare luxury car that looks expensive and it can cover hundreds of thousands of miles without falling apart. In the category of cheap cars that look rich, and the GS 350 is probably the lowest risk buy on this entire list. Now we reach number 3. And this is where things get genuinely interesting. The Audi A7 first generation, 2012 to 2014. The A7 might be the single biggest design bargain on this entire list. Even today, this car looks futuristic. It looks like a concept car that someone decided to put into production. The sweeping fastback profile, almost coupe-like. The aggressive LED lighting that anticipated the design language the entire industry would later adopt. The wide, low, dominant stance. When it launched, the A7 started around $65,000 to $70,000. Fully equipped models pushed comfortably past $75,000 to $80,000, but depreciation has been brutal. Early examples can now appear around the $10,000 mark, which means for the price of a small used economy car, you can drive something that still looks today like a 6-figure machine, something people notice in traffic, something that turns heads in a parking lot. Very few cars combine design, prestige, and depreciation advantage the way the A7 does. And then there is number 2. And here we enter a different kind of territory entirely. The Maserati Ghibli, 2014 to 2015. Few badges carry the same instant prestige as the Trident. When people see a Maserati on the street, they automatically assume one thing: expensive. The Ghibli launched with prices starting around $70,000. At the time, it was marketed as a direct competitor to the BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes E-Class, and it genuinely was, with an Italian aesthetic that no German rival could replicate. But Maserati's rapid depreciation created an unusual situation. Older high-mileage examples now sometimes appear around the $10,000 mark, which means you are getting exotic Italian styling, a legendary performance brand, and one of the most recognizable and aspirational badges on the entire road, for the price of a used economy hatchback. Now, an important note. The Ghibli has a reputation for maintenance costs. It is a car that demands attention. But if you find a well-maintained example with documented service history, what you get in terms of visual impact is unmatched on this list. The Trident speaks for itself. And finally we arrive at number 1, the last car on the list, the most important one. If there is one car here that truly looks like a millionaire's vehicle, it is the Jaguar XJ, X351 generation, 2011 to 2013. This car is still stunning today. Long, elegant, aggressive in exactly the right details, and refined in everything else. The aluminum body, Jaguar was among the first to do this at scale, gives it proportions that steel cars simply cannot replicate. Slim where it needs to be slim, powerful where it needs to be powerful. When this car launched, it started around $75,000 to $80,000 and could approach $90,000 with options. Inside, it feels like a private luxury lounge. Real wood, leather everywhere, enormous interior space, with a sense of volume and quietness that German sedans struggle to match. Jaguar built this car to compete directly with the Mercedes S-Class and the BMW 7 Series, and it succeeded. Yet today, early models can sometimes be found for under $10,000. It is the ultimate depreciation shock, from executive limousine to used car bargain, and visually, it still carries the same presence it had when it rolled out of the showroom. If you want a car that stops conversations, that makes people assume you are somebody, and the XJ is the one. Now that you have the list, let's talk about how to actually buy these cars intelligently, because there's a reason these machines cost so little, and you need to understand it before you open your wallet. First, always check the full service history, not roughly complete, actually complete. Depreciated luxury cars often end up in the hands of people who could not afford to maintain them properly. You want documentation that says otherwise. Second, have the suspension inspected by a mechanic who specializes in the brand you are considering. Adaptive suspension systems, air suspension components, active handling hardware. These can cost thousands of dollars when they fail. A $200 pre-purchase inspection can save you $3,000. Third, verify the electronic systems thoroughly. Screens, connectivity modules, driver assistance systems. Luxury cars from this generation carry complex electronics. A failed infotainment system is not always cheap or straightforward to replace. Fourth, count the owners. Fewer owners is always better. A 2-owner example with documented service is almost always worth more than a 4-owner car priced slightly lower. If you find a well-maintained example, the value you get is extraordinary. These cars were built to impress, built to last when properly cared for, and built to be driven by people who wanted the very best. You are buying them after depreciation has already done the hard work. And that brings us back to where we started. Most people try to look successful the expensive way. They buy brand new cars with enormous monthly payments, cars that turn 0 heads, economy cars that look exactly like what they are. Smart buyers do the opposite. They buy what rich people bought 10 years ago. Cars that once cost $70, $80, even $90,000. Cars that still look expensive today. Cars that still stop conversations in parking lots. But that now costs less than $10,000. Because in the car market, timing beats budget every single time. And the biggest luxury secret is not buying new, it is buying after the depreciation crash. The Chrysler 300C, the Acura RLX, the Volvo S90, the Lexus GS 350, the Audi A7, the Maserati Ghibli, and the Jaguar XJ. 7 cars, all under $10,000, all built to look like far more. If this changed the way you think about the used car market, drop a comment below with the car that surprised you the most. And if you want to see this same analysis applied to luxury SUVs, because the opportunities there are even bigger, let us know. And that is exactly what we will do next.